Let's talk about money. Can I confess something? I'm not too good with money. I don't know if you are, but I don't do too good with it. I have a problem with spending before I get it. I think a lot of times I sit and I think, how are people affording to live these days? Everything's gone up. Inflation's really just like gone out of control. It's really hard to just like afford the essential needs. I find myself constantly when I go to the grocery store looking at the prices of things like way more than I need to. And just checking. I'm like, oh, can I afford this? Then I have to go, and then every time I check out, I have to go check my bank account to make sure I have enough to pay for the groceries. Because it's like $100 at least for one person to get groceries. It's just crazy. So for the longest time, I wondered, how are people affording to live? And it's easy. It's credit cards. It's debt. I was like, if I'm struggling with money, I barely can, I'm worried if I'm not going to make ends meet. I'm pretty well doing good. I'm pretty, in the grand scheme of things, I got an apartment. I got a job. I'm doing all right, all things considered. So then I wondered, how are other people affording to live if I'm struggling? The answer is they're not. They're in debt. And so if everyone's in debt, at some point, something is going to happen soon. This bubble that's being built, or even better, this house of cards that's being built, someday a stiff breeze is going to come and knock it over. And so when that day happens, not too different from the 2007 collapse, I don't know. It's going to be weird. And it's funny to think everything's going to come crashing down. And the irony of it is that, every day most people are thinking about, where am I going to get my money from? How am I going to provide for the X, Y, and Z? Oh, I need my check. Oh, yo, you owe me money, bro. Yo, dude. Hey, dude, you owe me $5 for the cigarette pack I bought you for the Zyn. You owe me $5, dude. Give me that $5, bro. Everyone's all so hyper fixated and focused on where their money's coming and going, but they don't even understand that, the ground they're standing on, the foundation they think they have, is a hypothetical one that doesn't even exist in reality. And it comes from the fact that, we all know, money doesn't grow on trees, right? It's like you got to earn money, and you got to earn to be a part of the society. If you don't have a job, or you don't provide, or you don't make any money, you're going to be homeless. And that's a fear. Nobody wants to be fucking homeless. That's terrible, right? And so we're all like, I gotta hoard all the money I can get. I gotta keep it for myself, and save it up maybe. I want if you're in the upper middle class or you're in the middle class, I gotta save for retirement. I gotta retire. If you're in the lower class, you're just like, I gotta pay my rent and my car. So I gotta save so I can do that. I can't spend too much. If I spend too much, I might lose it all. But it's funny because I think in reality, the contrary. Actually, money does grow on trees. I started off saying I'm pretty. If I'm worried about making ends meet, I'm doing pretty good, all things considered, for my age range and my economic state and level, my class or whatever. How are other people living? And if I'm stressed, but in reality I'm really not. I think there is a beauty to the debt in a way. You don't really have to think about it, and don't go too in too deep, with stuff that's you can't pay off. Don't be $20K in debt. But a grand or so, whatever, you can pay that off. But I think if you're so focused on the collection and generation of income and wealth, it's going to mean that much more when you lose it, when this inevitable collapse happens. When you lose it all, it's going to hurt way more. You're essentially setting yourself up for failure. You're going to make the blow worse than it really needs to be. Because to me, money does grow on trees. It's ain't nothing but a thing, That's why I guess, like I said earlier, I'm not too good with it. I have a problem with spending before I get it. But I think if you give money away generously, and if you spend money generously, don't be stupid. Don't spend it on things you don't need. Like, ooh, I need this pair of shoes. I need this watch, whatever. But like, you want to spend money to go on a vacation. You want to go travel. You want to spend money on your kid. Get your kid a nice gift. On your girlfriend, your wife, get her a gift. Do it. Like, dude, life's too short. You can't sit there and be worried about, oh, I'm gonna lose. Like, that's the shit you should be in debt for, not like paying your bills. I think if you give generously, and don't give just to give. That's the thing. People think they got to give to like look good socially. No. I think a guy once said, how do I live forever? He asked this dude who seemed to like have some aura about him. He said, how do I live forever? Because this guy seemed to have all the answers at the time. And he said, give up everything and come follow me. And that guy was like, what? And then another guy came up to that same dude and asked him the same question. How do I live forever? And he said, give half of what you have. And the point is, it's not about what you're actually giving up. Doesn't matter. There's no quantitative amount that will let you live forever, because you can't live forever. You're going to die. But it doesn't matter. It's about what's in their heart. So to the first guy, giving everything was the biggest sacrifice. So the other guy, half of it was a sacrifice. And so that's the point I'm making. If all of it comes collapsing, crumbling down, and you have nothing, it's going to hurt. But if you're already giving money generously, spending willy-nilly, based on your heart, based on what feels good to you, what feels right, then it'll be okay. And I think, too, you put good energy out into the world, you'll get it back. And that's the problem. If you're so hyper-fixated on your money, your wealth, your bottom line, you're going to miss the thing right in front of you, the opportunities that could be there to maybe get you some money. That's why I would say money does grow on trees.